Hey, welcome to my channel. Today I'm just going to talk very briefly. I'm not going to get into the specifics. I'll probably show you another spreadsheet basically giving the stats. But today on First Take, I was watching between, Stephen A. Smith and Mad Dog, where Stephen Curry pointed out that he was the best point guard of all time. And now I think everyone was like saying, wait, hold your horses, bro. First off, like point guard, the definition between now and then has dramatically changed to the point where like everyone was saying basically like Magic Johnson is the best point guard of all time. I mean, honestly, like between Steph Curry and Magic Johnson, as point guarders wise, it's definitely Magic Johnson. I hate more to the point of the traditional point guard as more of the one that's a facilitator. That's definitely Magic Johnson. The thing is nowadays point guards defined today are more considered shooters that find other people open at that point. They're not the facilitator. Putting this to rest for a second. Though, as a pure, shooting wise, meaning as a pure shooter. On the point guard perspective, yeah, Steph Curry is way better than all the others out there right now. But let's come down to the point of this: if you had put a situation of Steph Curry playing in the 80s and early 90s, would he be able to do what he's doing right now? I highly doubt it. More so because the fact is like that those guys were physical. The question is like, would he be able to handle that physicality? It's hard to say because like a lot of the point guards back then that were good shooters did not survive in the NBA for so long because all you had to do was just hack away at them and then like they couldn't shoot as well and they were too fearful and they shot very quickly. Now I don't know, it's hard to say, but again the other factor is, let's put it this way: Magic Johnson has 5 rings. Steph Curry has 4. Now, granted, Steph Curry has a few more years left in him, quite a few more years left in him, so he might be able to get 2 more, maybe 3 more for that matter, from 4 to possibly 7. It's a possibility. I don't know, depending on how the Golden State Warriors build up. If Durant had stayed, chances are they probably would have had 7 by now, honestly. But then there was one statement though that's been coming out as far as is Curry the best shooter of all time? I want to say no. And the reason why is, again, coming back to the fact is of, let's go back to where, sorry, gotta look at this, getting messages. Go back to the fact that between Bird and Curry, I think Bird was the best shooter of all time. And let's define it this way. Yeah, Steph Curry defined it, whereas a shooter, you can be a 6'3" point guard or 6'3" person and shoot from any range. Yes, but at the same time, I don't think he had the swag like Bird had, where he would just call him up. It's like, I mean, hell, there's an even show about it on Game Time or Winning Time on HBO about the Lakers. And they're winning, and about whole Showtime and such, so far. And like you're seeing basically, well, Larry Bird is one of those guys that's so confident, he would just shoot and tell you, like, if you're going to guard me like this, I'm just going to keep, piling on the points at that point. And he had the swag to say that, basically. And, like, even tell people, like, look, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the left. I'm going to go to the right. I'm going to fake, and then I'm going to shoot and get it in. And boom. He was telling the people how it would work at that point as well, too, which is a surprise. Now, looking at the stats for a second, you see here, basically, yeah, okay, career-wise, Bird at 897, Steph Curry had 882 games. Of course, the game number of games started, more so, because of Steph Curry had more games started. But that's more of a case because the fact is Bird was injured quite a few times. Minutes played, yeah, Bird has a lot more minutes because he refused to get out of the game and such. Field goals made, it's a high amount of field goals percentage-wise. They're about the same, basically, to be honest with you. Now, the three-point is one of the big things, basically, and like, let's look at it from this angle. The 3 points, oops, I don't know what happened there, but like from the 3 points attempts to the actual 3-point percentage for those that are made, well, let's look at it this way. Yeah, Steph Curry had more 3-pointers, but at the same time, if Bird had that shot, he would have done the exact same thing. But if you take a look at the 2-pointers and the attempts, I mean, honestly, Bird had like almost, and the guy was always double teamed, maybe even triple teamed for that matter. So let's not forget that. So in this situation, it's hard to say, like, Bird was, like Curry is looking at the numbers themselves, like Stephen Curry is definitely better, but let's not forget the era that Bird played in. I mean, honestly, this is an unbelievable time, basically, and it was one of those things where, look, assist wise, I mean, they're almost the same at that point as well too. Steal wise, about the similar. Blocks was a big factor. Look at the blocks. I mean, Bird was a better defender, and like the question is like how many personal fouls did he give? Yeah, a lot more basically, but. Looking at from their most current season, basically, or the last season, which was 90-91 for Bird. He played 45 games. Curry had 56. 45 games started. 56 games started. Of course, 1,600 minutes played versus 1,900 minutes played. But the field goal percentage, about the same, 46 to 49% between the two. Basically, field three-pointers made. Larry Bird wasn't making as many three-pointers, but let's not forget, at the last year of Larry Bird's playing career, the man basically was essentially, I had a bad back, which forced him to retire. Because, like, honestly, if he didn't have that bad back, he probably would have played another 3-4 more seasons, quite honestly. Maybe 5 seasons extras. But looking at everything else, basically, it's the fact that this man was injured with the bad back. Look how well he did. And now let's look at the actual numbers that probably matter the most in this case, which is what? Titles. Larry Bird has 3, Curry has 4. Yeah, it makes sense. Curry has 4, but look at the number of NBA MVP titles that each one has have. Bird has 3, Curry has 2. Chances are Curry might have another one or another 2 maybe down the line. MVP Finals. Bird has 2, Curry has 1. Yeah. Now this is the one that's the drastic one right now. NBA all NBA first team. Curry has 4 while Larry has 9. I don't think Curry's going to be able to get, unless he plays another 5 more years. He only has 4 at this point, so like that's a big factor as well too. And then of course NBA All Stars. Curry's probably going to, if he plays another 3-4 more years, he's probably going to match Larry or get more than that at that point. Similarly to, I have a feeling that he's probably going to get more NBA MVPs if Steph Curry plays the way he plays, basically. But again, let's come back to this for a second. Steph Curry is a great shooter. I won't deny that. He is a great shooter. But at the same time, let's not forget, in this era, if Jordan was playing in this era, if Jordan, Magic, the big 3, Magic, Bird, and Jordan, if they played in this era, I mean, honestly, it'd be a whole different ballgame altogether. I mean, like, the defense itself, it's not as strong as it was back in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s, or mid-90s for that matter, up to the mid-90s, where, like, it was like you had to be physical and aggressive. Everything changed around 2000 at that point, and, like, it's like the defenses, basically the NBA tried to restrict the physicality of the defensive mindset. So, in that perspective, if you go back to then versus now, if that physicality was removed in the 90s and 80s, chances are Bird, Johnson, and Jordan would have way more than you would see right now. I mean, chances are Johnson and Bird, you probably see Johnson and Bird more often in the finals together against each other than any other team at that point. Jordan probably may or may not have been. I don't know. It's hard to say. But you know what? In the early 90s, I mean, it's hard to say. It's possibly that, yeah, he probably would have. Because the thing is, let's not forget, once these guys, the physicality mindsets were coming to play, these guys were sort of semi-bulking up. They were in the weight room bulking up to make sure that, any physicalities that were coming at them, they would go all out. Question is like with Stephen Curry, if this physical defensive mindset was put in play of the 80s and 90s and 70s to today's game, would Stephen Curry still be around? It's hard to say because, he's wily, but at the same time, you got guys that can double team him. 2 big guys, like let's say it's a Mahorn and Rodman double teaming Curry. Do you think Curry would last for the next 3 years? I highly doubt it. Or in this first 3 years, for that matter, highly doubt it. So I don't know. It's one of those things where, like, seeing the numbers, it shows Stephen Curry has better numbers, but I think it comes down to the era that they were playing in, basically. And it's more of a case where, like, I don't think, honestly, if the NBA were to allow a little bit more physicality in the defensive aspect of things to be back the way it was, like it was in the 90s and 80s, I would love to see that and see how these players would do, really, how these players would do at this point. The only thing is, yeah, as the rules changed, the players had to adapt. And some players that were more physical could never play in this. I mean, honestly, like Anthony Mason, Charles Oakley, Dennis Rodman type of. Well, Dennis Rodman depends, but like a Charles Oakley and a Anthony Mason type of. I'm a Knicks fan, of course, so that's the only way I could reference them. Would they be, or Charles Mahern for that matter, or John Sally, if they were playing, or Kevin McHale as well too, and Robert Parrish, if they were playing, and Horace Grant, if they were playing in this era, I don't think you would know them as much as you knew back then. Basically, like honestly, like the physicality that they provided, I don't think that you would be able to play in this league at this point. Honestly, they would be just probably be on the wayside if they're one of those guys who are trying to play the goons in this situation. I think the NBA tried to get rid of that aspect of the goon aspect of things, like the way the NHL has it. But I think that was a mistake because that was one of the allure of the game at that point as well too. Because like you could see if players evolved physically, basically speaking, to the point of like we saw Jordan evolve. I mean, like he was getting hacked and slashed left and right, but he evolved, he adapted, he knew what to do, and basically as they clotheslined him, still made those buckets, and then was able to go. Nowadays, you see a guy getting clotheslined, ball's up in the air, but it's not going near the basket, and like you got a technical at that point, which honestly, interesting. So I don't know what to say, but that's my take on things right now. I don't think Steph Curry is the best shooter compared to Bird and all the others from the past, but he's definitely the best shooter of this era of basketball. Put it that way. This era of basketball, this new wave of basketball, more than anything else. I'll admit that he is definitely a better shooter at that point. Is he the best point guard? Again, the point guard position was reinvented. He reinvented it partly, but then don't forget, AI kind of came in and changed the dynamics of that whole thing altogether. And then, Curry adopted to him basically, and like you're saying that now. But let's not forget, point guard wise, if you're talking about it, Magic Johnson changed the point guard position considerably. It became the dominant position where you revolved around that position. Similarly with Larry Bird. Larry Bird was the man. He was the corner man, basically, as they were calling it, the corner man, that you revolved your offense around that corner man. Usually you revolve your offense around the center. Pretty much it. It was a center point guard. The third man, the block corner man, would be the one that would be available. In this case, Boston revolved it around Bird because he was that good. The question is like, would now then again, let's not forget, Golden State is revolving their entire offense around around Steph Curry as well too. So I won't deny that as well. But I mean, and these two basically reinvented those positions, and then Jordan, of course, reinvented the entire game altogether. To be quite honest, so honestly, those three are like my top three at this point. You'll always see them in my Mount Rushmores of those three. Basically, they will always be the top three, no matter what. Now, if you're saying the top five all time, it's hard to say, but I would say, Jordan, the most influential. It's a little difficult to say. I can't trust in that situation. But the top five NBA players of all time, it's going to always be Jordan, Magic, Bird, and Russell. Now, what order? I don't know, but those are the top four right there. That's always going to be there, always, every time for me. Bill Russell, and you can't say Bill Russell shouldn't be there. Bill Russell made the center what it is. They revolved that offense as well, and with Russell, they won 11 championships. Russell, by far, I think, is a GOAT as well, too. Let's not forget that. He is one of the GOATs. Is he the GOAT? It's hard to say, but everyone's trying to compare Jordan to Russell at the time when Jordan came in. Honestly, if everyone's trying to pull that in, then you got to put Russell in there at that point, because like the man has, if you're going to go by championship rings, Russell has 11 championship rings. So like, let's not forget that. So you got to include him at that point as well too in that conversation. He changed the game dynamically, and then Jordan elevated to unbelievable heights where it became global. Johnson, of course, Magic and Bird brought the NBA to a more respectable manner that now everyone wanted to watch it on their TVs, wanted to go to games, and they want, it was one of those things where instead of tape delays, you're watching it live. that they changed that dynamic and made it popular, and then Jordan just brought it up to a different height altogether. So they're always going to be on the top four. The fifth one, I honestly don't know. It's always going to change. I mean, between LeBron, Kobe, and now Steph, it's hard to say, honestly. We'll find out as time progresses. I mean, the top 10 will most likely will be your top six, basically, because you'll always have the sixth man, basically, at that point. But in any case, I'll leave it at that. Please leave your comments in the comment section. What do you think? Do you think Steph Curry is the best shooter of all time? Or do you think Bird is the best shooter? I mean, again, let's put it this way. I've never heard stories of Steph Curry saying, like, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. Telling his opponent, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to get that basket in. Bird had that confidence. He had that swag back then, and he was able to do it. And he was even telling the teams, like, I'm going to shoot whatever it is. And he had the confidence to get it in there at that point, even when he was double teamed. But again, let me know your thoughts. Do you think Curry is the best shooter of all time, or do you think Bird is? Do you think Curry is the best point guard of all time compared to Magic? Or which is the better two between Curry and Magic? Curry and Bird shooter, Curry and Magic point guard wise as well too. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section. I do read my comments. I do respond to them when they want to respond and when I get notified as well too. And I also thank you for those who have subscribed and for those who like my content, like my videos, and like my channel. I ask you please subscribe. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Unfiltered, unedited, and of course unrehearsed. Until next time.